We have these things that we do, but when I come flying in late.
Traditions.
Welcome your hosts, Caddy Frank and Aaron Fitzgerald, as they lead discussions about substance use disorder and the journey to recovery. You're listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
Oh, hello. I just love that tunage. It just kind of brings me into this happy space with these happy people smiling. It's a good day. Welcome to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. We have a couple of guests, but before that, Miss Erin, what would we like to say thanks to?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Erin Fitzgerald. Special thanks to our generous funders, the Patrick and Amy Butler Family Foundation, Otto Bremer Trust, the Sauer Family Foundation, and the Hardenberg Foundation, alongside all of you other donors out there. We thank you very much. We wouldn't be here without you having these important discussions. And we are excited to be here today. We've got a couple of fun guests with us, Derek Johnson and Alex Doying from Amethyst Recovery Solutions. But before we really introduce them,
Yeah, we got to do the thing.
do the thing.
Got to do the thing. So, Erin,
Yes, ma'am.
what's right with you today?
What's right with me today? You know what I've been noticing lately is other people noticing in me.
Ooh, what's
I
that?
like
Love
when
that.
people notice things in us. It's just like the way that I react to different situations, either just not reacting or reacting differently than I would have in my active use or even in my early recovery. And it's just nice to have other people recognize the changes in us. We get past the past us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
past the past us. I
Yeah.
like that.
It's good.
That's
How-
a something.
It's something. How about you, Miss Caddy? What's right with you today?
What's right with me? I will be grateful, and I'm so grateful for the Walk for Recovery that it is, and it was, and it's now waiting till next year. It was
Amen.
fantastical. But if anybody has ever done an event before, and these gentlemen sitting in front of me are understanding what I'm saying, and certainly Miss Erin Fitzgerald understands the labor of love and then the labor that goes into it. So I am grateful that it was so amazing and so wonderful. So thank you to all those individuals that showed up and just made me smile. I got to run into all kinds of people that I know from like years and years ago. I had somebody come up to me. I can't remember who they are right now, but it was Keenan. Haven't seen him in like 5 years. And he's like,
Awesome.
came up with this big, huge smile. Caddy. And I'm like, give me your name again. Keegan. Yay.
I love it.
Oh, so good to see some of these folks. So
I just have to tell you really quickly.
What?
I ran into somebody that I worked with when I was pregnant with my little fella, over
Yeah.
5 years ago, and he was struggling to find recovery, and I was early in my recovery, and I never knew what happened to him, and I saw him lying in the grass all by himself, and I got to go give him a big hug and say, "Hoorah!"
Hoorah.
It's always good to see
Yes.
people that you've come into contact with in recovery.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
It's one of my favorite parts about things like the walk is
Yeah.
getting to see people that I don't connect with regularly,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to see them.
Yeah. Well, to
Yes.
that point,
Who are the voices?
who are the voices? Who's
Yeah.
this voice and what's right with you?
Yeah, so I'm Alexander Doying. I'm the executive director of Amethyst Recovery Solutions. I love that question. First of all, like as soon as you asked it, my brain started going 100 miles an hour, and what came to mind for me is balance, right?
Mm.
I have spent so much of my life out of whack and not being able to feel content with life, like now that I'm in long-term recovery, and we're kind of moving and grooving with our nonprofit, and it's finally at a point right now where like I feel like there's so much balance in my life, right? So there's much more, and people in recovery understand absolutely that it's more than just the recovery piece.
Yeah.
Right, it's family, and it's connection with friends, and it's doing all of those little things that give us the opportunity to show up for things like this.
Yeah.
Right. And so being able to focus on on building something to provide services and support for people as much as being able to show up for my children
Wow.
is such an amazing feeling. It is something that kind of escaped me for a long period of time, especially in active addiction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow. So turn your face to your co-person and say, hey,
Hey,
Why, hello there.
what's right with you?
what's right with you? And what's your name?
My name is Derek Johnson. I'm also with Amethyst Recovery Solutions. Man, there's so many things to choose from. Like, you brought up a great one. I was originally thinking, coming to the end of recovery month, which can be a little bit busy.
Wee bit.
Yeah, but I think the thing that's impacting me immediately right now is a couple weeks ago I had COVID, and I'm finally starting to feel better again. Like, the initial symptoms went away within a week, but then I just had that fatigue, and so yesterday I got back to the gym for the first time in 2 weeks, and so I'm feeling like I get to be me again. I
Right.
felt like I got back home there for a little bit,
Yeah.
so I'm feeling good today.
Back
Yeah.
to self.
Yeah. I mean, when we lose those sort of daily rituals or
Mhm.
weekly rituals, things that were just sort of like kind of keep us on a constant, when they go away, you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yep.
Well, you feel off.
Yeah.
You
Just
feel
off.
You
Yeah.
can feel it, and
Very
sometimes
much
you
so.
can't identify it.
Right.
Right? You got to sit and you got
Like,
to meditate. And
yeah.
like,
What's not going right?
Yeah,
I mean, because that's the other question. Sometimes we talk about what's right with you, but sometimes what's not going right,
Yeah.
and that's really important to be aware of, because I think a lot of times when we're in our substance use, we're just like, what the fruit? You don't care. I'm going to escape because I don't want to think about what's not going well.
Mhm.
And then we certainly forget about what's going right.
I'm going to throw a pondering question out there for you. It only took you a week to start feeling yourself again after being ill. How long did it take you to start feeling yourself again once you found recovery?
I feel like it happened in segments for me, right? Like,
Sure.
I thought, oh, this is me, right?
Mhm.
Like, a month into it, and then come to realize 6 months later, like, oh no, now this is me.
Yes.
That was just
Yeah.
gratitude that I wasn't doing those things anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then doing some of the work and really discovering who I am, and coming to realize I never really knew the answer to that question before
Right.
doing that work. But I would say, a year or so in is when I really started to find my groove, I think. And it wasn't just the relief that I wasn't homeless and using drugs anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
All self. How about you,
Yeah.
Alex?
I think that question's a lifelong practice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I got into recovery thinking that I knew who I was, and found out over a period of time that I had no idea. Right? And I think that I'm still continuing to learn things about myself, how I operate and how I function as a human being in recovery. That's bringing me to kind of different areas of my life, different practices, and really just trying to focus on being open-minded.
Mhm.
Right? I do not have to have all of this figured out.
Right.
And if I ever like pretend that I do, like, please call me
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
Right? Because that tells me that something else is going on internally.
Right.
Right? So I think it's a lifelong practice. I get the ability to build on that every day.
Yes.
Wow.
I think
Excellent.
it's
about-
constantly
yeah.
changing too,
Yeah,
right?
too, I think
as
I
we grow.
might truly know myself today,
Mhm.
but as I change, then I have to get to know the new version
Yeah.
of me that I'm
Mhm.
moving towards.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Well, it's
love
kind of like this eyeballs on yourself. So
Yeah.
sometimes we think we got it, and we think it's like, oh, this is who I am. And I think that's a really great question, because I want to pose that back to you and to
Maybe later.
you and me
Mhm.
after the break. But it's interesting. I kind of had an aha moment when you asked that question of something that happened today with me. And I'm
Oh.
like, oh, and actually it came as a gift from someone.
Nice.
It says, be a good human. I got a t-shirt in the mail from a very special person in my life. And I just thought, am I a good human?
Mm.
And I because I kind of like really thought about that statement. I thought, be a good human. And I texted this person back, Sue, and and I said, it's because I hold myself around exceptional humans.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so we're going to take our first break. And I think I want to pose that question to Erin and see
Surely.
what she's going to say.
Okay.
So we're going to take our first break. Thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. We'll be right back. What was the question?
When did you find you
So,
again?
thank you.
Something.
Wait, what is it? Just so we're on.
Also, often. What's happening?
Yeah, sorry, Brett. Hi, everybody. This is Patty Frink and Aaron Fitzgerald with a couple of lovely guests. We're just having a laugh fest right now because of coming back from that previous moment.
We're just silly.
So we're just silly this afternoon. So I just want to repose the question to Aaron if she could actually pose it to me because I kind of forgot what it was. I love the answers so much. So Aaron, what was that amazing question you asked our guests?
Something along the lines of when did you find yourself or re-find yourself in recovery?
And I said that today I had an aha moment
Mhm.
with this human thing. And I think I really like what you have to say, Matt. And it's like it takes time. You see yourself over and over and over again. And I'll never forget my biggest moment was that when I was in my first couple of years of recovery, I didn't know how to cry. I could cry, but I didn't know how to cry to myself
Mhm.
and be able to like let that pain out.
To really release, yeah.
And that was a huge moment when I cried for like 2 years in my meetings. I mean, I like, didn't stop. I was known as the crier. But
Good for
it was
you.
like a really great turning point to like all of a sudden be humanish to myself and just sort of let the pain out because I kept it in like many of us do.
Mhm.
Aaron, what about you?
I think I've kind of answered this in the past before. Like, I just kind of refound who I was, like remembering who I was as a child and like the things that were important to me, the things that I like loved and were, I mean, truly, I found some like old journalings from when I was a child, some from a few years ago. They all basically say the exact same thing. And that was about a year ago when I found those. And I'm just like, well, that's exactly what it is then. Stop looking, man. This is it.
Yeah, there it is.
I'd say about 4 years into recovery, I reminded myself that I was who I was before, but I just never really had the opportunity and the chance to grow in that person. Yeah, and thankfully, kind of because I've learned so many great learning lessons along the way in recovery that I probably would not have learned without having
Having
these
had these
experiences that I've had. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
all about these experiences that we've had that sort of bring us
Yeah.
to this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can never be bad about it. That's for sure. So, gentlemen, tell us all about everything Amethyst Recovery Solutions. I want to know a little bit the history, what you guys are up to now, what you're going to be doing in the future.
You want to take that one?
I can take that one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a few years back, we started some recovery housing, which is a different organization, but that's kind of what led to Amethyst Recovery Solutions. Is we wanted to take our residents out and go do things, right? Like we would take them curling and bowling, and they would always want to bring their friends with. They would want to, do all these things, and we were like, why not? Let's like, how can we open that up to other people, like not just our people? It was so critical to me in early recovery to do things, to have fun. Like, I think that I'm still in recovery today because of that. Like, I wasn't ready to do the work right away. I needed to have some fun and meet some awesome people that could carry me through some tough times.
That's hey,
Some
Alex is
fingers
pointing to
being pointed
himself.
at individuals,
Yeah.
yes,
I
in the
like it.
room.
Yeah, those just happen to be the people that I work with
That's
today.
great.
Like, a
Well,
lot
and-
of those people.
Amazing.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it's awesome. So that was how Amethyst Recovery Solutions came to be, was to kind of fill in the gaps of the things that we noticed we wanted to do that as a recovery housing organization, it didn't really fit the mold, right?
Yeah.
So Amethyst Recovery Solutions was to figure out what we wanted to do with people and figure out how we can be of service to more people, and really emphasize the fun part. That's really important in our mission.
And you guys are now a recovery community organization, correct?
That is correct.
Excellent. So tell us more about what that expansion looks like.
So the RCO is really been put into place because of a lot what Derek was talking about, right? Like, we have these progressive conversations with each other as founders of the solutions, Amethyst Recovery Solutions, and we are consistently asking ourselves, what the recovery community needs, right? How can we show up and be more present and more productive in the community so that people can receive the support that they need, because there's a lot of need for support, right? And so that is essentially like where we are putting a lot of our energy.
Yeah.
Right, we are absolutely trying to build something where people know that when they come to us, they are going to be safe and they are going to be taken care of, right? Until they have the ability to hopefully one day move on and do it on their own. And that's really what we're all about.
You know, it kind of reminds me of the question that we were talking about before of like, when did we get to know ourselves, right? I'm often reminded of that when people are like, oh, well, what does Amethyst Recovery Solutions do? My answer today is probably going to be a little bit different tomorrow, based on a conversation that we have and saying, actually, that's a really good idea. We should do something like that, right? Like, it's not very black and white. It very much changes with what we see and what we hear, and the feedback that we get, and just random crazy ideas that we have that, let's try it. Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
It's always changing.
Yeah, and I apologize. I called you Matt for some reason. I don't know why I called you Matt.
I've been called worse. I
Okay,
promise.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry about that, Derek. I was just like, where did that name come from? You know what? I think the common theme that I hear is that it's about community. And that really is the essence of a recovery community organization. And I think when you were talking about how you want to have fun, well, to have fun, you need to have more people around you. And we need to maybe choose to have healthier people around us. They can't always be healthy, but that's really the essence of what I picked up. And I went to one of these curling events with my guy, and we had such a great time. And it was just fun to sort of be around fun in recovery and have just kind of like the whole thing just be like this, like, oh, this is really what recovery is to have a good time.
Yep.
So talk about some of those events that you've done and these things that you've done to build this community, because that's really what I gather in a big way from you guys.
No, that's such an important piece to touch on, right? And let's take the curling event for a prime example. The majority of the people that come to our curling events have never curled, ever. And they're always hesitant, right? And we're like, we promise, if you come, you're having fun, right? And the other thing that I can almost guarantee is that while you're out on that ice rink, there's going to be one thing that you're definitely not thinking about, and that's going back out.
Right.
So it's just an amazing opportunity.
You know what I love about early recovery, having opportunities to go out with other people in recovery, is that you feel really like a lot of people feel anxious or awkward and uncomfortable because we've never done things outside of substance use. And so knowing that we're with other people that have been in those same shoes just helps you have a little more ease, right?
That world of awkwardness isn't quite as awkward.
Yeah. Have you guys had a chance to go out to like the recovery softball
No,
games
I have
at all?
not.
No, I've got a couple of friends that play on leagues, so and they totally swear by it. They
It's
say it's just a
amazing.
good time.
Every time I go, I just look around
Yeah.
and there are hundreds of people.
Seriously?
Yeah. And that's just at the one location. There's other games going on all throughout the cities.
Yeah.
And I just am always so in awe at like how many people are out here having fun. No one's thinking about, what they used to be like or the struggles that they're having earlier. They're just out there having fun, and it's so powerful.
Well, and the other cool piece about that is that it's a Friday night. And I don't know about anyone else, but I know where I was Friday nights when I was in active addiction, and it wasn't with a group of people celebrating recovery and having fun at the same time. Right. And it's often said at recovery meetings too. It's like, if you would have told me, 12 years ago that on a Friday or Saturday night I'd be in the basement of a church, like I would have told you X, Y, and Z.
Right.
You're
and,
nuts.
and today it's the only place I want to be.
Right.
And so when we're there and we're playing softball and we got all of our guys there and they're laughing and having a great time, like that is something to sit back and experience. And it's an experience that you can have just by being aware of your surroundings. Look at all of these people doing something different with themselves.
Yeah, you just get to feel other people's joy.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think what part of that is that some people have had no idea that they could have joy in doing like a sport or an activity. that it was so outside of their realm. Now, I will be a great audience member to softball, but I will never be out on the field.
Yeah.
That is just not my jam. But I can see myself going and supporting our community because that's something that I can do and I would feel comfortable doing. And I think a lot of people who are, in their early recovery or their long-term recovery, I mean, I've got a chunk of time behind me, and I would have never thought about going to a softball game, but now I'm kind of inspired.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's me. I rarely play unless we don't have enough people. Like, it's always our people come first, and then if they need someone to get out there, I will.
Yeah.
But I have no interest in playing softball
Okay,
at all.
thank God I'm not alone.
Yeah, no, it's not my thing. It's fun once I'm out there, but I definitely don't go like, I really hope that we don't have enough people so I can play tonight. Like,
Right?
like I just go, and it's just cool to be around that energy, that
Yes.
vibe, that just people being themselves, having fun. And it makes it fun for me.
Yeah.
Now, did either of you find these kind of communities in your early recovery, or is that kind of why you've created this, is because you did not have it?
Can I say both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
think
have to say
I
both.
have. Well, I think it's important to state that when Amethyst came together, like we came together initially for sober housing before the nonprofit. Um, as a result of the experiences we had in sober housing as individuals getting clean and getting sober, and so um, the community at some parts in time of my recovery was not present, and only by the luck of the draw was I introduced to people who were willing to take me under their wing and bring me into this community, because I was like, as much as I didn't want to admit it, I was this scared little child, right? Experiencing everything with brand new eyes. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I didn't know if I was supposed to turn left or turn right.
Yeah.
And I needed someone to come up to me and go, turn right,
Yeah.
right? Go straight a little bit,
Mhm.
then take a left,
Yeah.
then stop,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? And so the answer is absolutely both.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for both parts of that, right? Is just as much as I'm grateful for everything that's taken place in my life, because
Yeah.
I get to sit here today as a person that is a collective of all of those experiences.
It's amazing.
Mhm.
One of the things I want you to talk about a little bit, we have an audience that is people that are in recovery and that are not in recovery. And so when we talk about sober housing, recovery housing, where did that whole impetus come from? And then what does that look like? So that people who are like listening to this, like, man, I think somebody I know might need that, or I don't even know what they're talking about. So describe what the beginning of that looked like and why you did that.
You wanna take that?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So recovery housing, just generally speaking, is kind of a step in between, for most people, in between treatment and getting back to their normal life.
Mhm.
And it's
Having
just,
their own apartment,
yeah,
having a
yeah,
roommate,
yep,
kind of going into that, I'll use in air quotes, sort of adulting again.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not quite as locked down and crazy as like an inpatient facility,
Mhm.
but you also have some accountability and some support and some safety before you're just on your own again.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I think that's so important. It was critical in my story.
Yep.
I know, same for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's probably one of the most crucial steps. Now, inpatient plays its role
Mhm.
and outpatient plays its role. Um, but outside of inpatient, with outpatient, you're talking about 4 hours a day,
Mhm.
right?
Of being in some sort
Of
of
being in, yep,
programming, a
exactly,
recovery. Yep.
exactly. For people who have spent the majority of their life living a specific lifestyle,
Mhm.
it is so imperative to remove them from that environment and put them
Yes.
somewhere where they're safe
Mhm.
and where they are held to a standard, right? And they are asked and expected to kind of take on some of the responsibilities of a person new in recovery,
Mhm.
right?
Because it takes longer than 30 or 60 days
Mhm.
to, like, you don't just take away that substance, right? It
And
takes
it
more
all turns
time.
out to be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unicorns and pink
Oh man,
flowers.
The
yeah.
first time around, I thought that's how it worked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who didn't?
Yeah.
First time
Uh,
for me too. So
yeah.
many people say the first time. The
Well, I was
first
asking
time.
my sober house to sign the letter that stated that after my 6 months stay, I was going to be perfect,
Mm.
right?
Nice.
Yeah, and they said no, and I said, okay,
Oh.
oh, okay,
Good
yeah,
call.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's absolutely a journey, and it takes people it's one of those concepts of like, we can provide the environment and the safety and the accountability, and you got to meet us halfway.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be willing to put in the work. And for the majority of the people who stay consistent with the work and take it one day at a time, if there's anyone out there that's listening, right, that is interested in sober living, it is going to take a 50-50 deal.
Right.
Right. And find housing that's willing to meet you 50-50, because some of them are not.
Yeah. So when you say that, so when somebody's in a recovery home and they're doing it, they have to abide by the house rules. You have to sort of like be committed to living with a group of people and sort of keep your temper down. If you get annoyed by somebody, don't lose your stuff. What other kind of, I don't want to say rules, but
Do you have
obligations?
programming or anything that folks have to do, or?
No programming, so to speak. Right. I think one of the things that I thought about when you initially just stated that was effective communication.
For sure.
One of the constants in our house are people who are used to a specific lifestyle and dealing with situations in a specific way. Right. If they choose to do that in recovery, it's not going to get them very far. Right. So one of the opportunities that we have as an organization to be able to bring people together is to help people practice effective communication.
Nice.
You're having an issue with your roommate. Congratulations, that's going to happen again.
Yeah.
You are going to meet someone else in your life that you don't get along with. And when that happens, how are you going to handle yourself? Because right now we're talking about, a possible 3-day restriction, right? In real life, you're talking about losing a job, right? You're talking
going
about
to
losing
jail.
a partner or losing your freedom.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So it's very important that we take those opportunities not to judge people or hand out consequences and then walk away, but we sit. I mean, one of the things that we're really good with at Amethyst is engagement. Right. We engage with every single one of our people, individually and as a community, because it's two-sided. Right. There's individual work and then there's communal work.
Absolutely.
Right. So what happened? Talk to me about how you're feeling. Let's discuss a different alternative as to how you deal with these emotions so that you can have a constructive conversation with someone, get across how you feel and what you need, and move on.
Yep.
So you're not just taking away the substance?
Nope.
Just want to make sure that people understand recovery is more than that.
That was one of the
Thank
things
you,
that really
guys.
hurt.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second. I stopped that 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, why am I still feeling this way?
And why do I have to keep growing? Darn you.
Yeah.
Jeez. I got to talk to people now. I got to handle stuff.
That was one of the hardest parts, was when I would do something stupid, and then now I can't blame it on that anymore.
Do it.
Right.
Now it was just me.
I got to own my stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really great
Yes.
work that you're doing with them, though.
Yeah.
I love that,
and
that you're
it's-
taking the time to really individualize that care.
Yeah, it's one of the pieces that really fills your spirit.
Is that sort of the catalyst of why the Recovery Community Organization, you said this already, but it's like now I can see where you started with this element of housing people, helping them move from one space to another. And now Amethyst Recovery Solutions came in as a recovery community organization. So how have those two then, I don't know that they blended, or how have they complemented one another? What does that look like?
Well, I think it's the condition of the heart. Right. I think that we saw the good that we were doing in recovery housing, and we also see the ceiling. Right. We can't, and as recovery housing, we don't have the opportunity to help people in the community. Right. We are helping people of the community when they're staying with us, but for people who aren't,
Right.
like, what about them?
Right.
And it goes back to that progressive conversation of how can we do good work for the entire community. And that's where the RCO came in.
Can I just say that I've been at Minnesota Recovery Connection for about 2 years, and I'm not sure how many gentlemen I've met from Amethyst, but at least a half dozen, probably more. And every single one that I have met has been just filled with passion, and that's why it's growing. You guys really pick a great team, from what I can see. And it sounds like you guys are trying to expand even larger than just the metro area.
Yeah, I mean, we are trying to expand. Like we don't have this list of like, okay, by this time next year we're going to be in Ohio,
Sure.
right? What we are focused on right now is we are focused on the metro. We are focused on the communities that are most in need and how we can train our peers to be to have the adequate skills to move into those communities and help people the best they can.
Awesome.
Right. So it's not so much like how big,
Yeah.
it's about quality.
Sure.
And unfortunately, there's still plenty of work to do around here where we
Oh,
are.
for
Yeah.
sure.
A lot of
Absolutely.
work.
I think one of the things you said that really kind of got me thinking and how the recovery community organization came in. So here you have this incredible sober housing and you have these individuals in that space, but those people know other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those other people that you want to continue to reach out to because those people then know more people. Now, I know when I was in your organization, we were having a meeting a while back. Tell folks how you're reaching out to some of the really hurting communities. Where are you reaching out to? Where are you doing more of your good work?
Yeah. So the main one I believe right now would be the native encampments in South Minneapolis. We have had the opportunity of engaging with peers who have since then come on with Amethyst Recovery Solutions, who have very deep roots in the Native community and have expressed to us the amount of need that's there. Right. So I think as of right now, that is one of our main focuses. How can we learn and develop strategies so that we can connect more in depth with that community and hopefully do some good work.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I remember you saying that. And so when we're working in communities that are culturally different from us, you are utilizing individuals from the Native American community to be sort of your arm's length in there
Mm-hmm.
so that, because when you see somebody who sounds like you, looks like you, you're sometimes more open to hearing them. Hearing the message that sounded a little something there, but hearing the ideas of what recovery. So you've got Native American and peers that you've begun
Yes.
to work with.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
actually people who have lived there.
Nice.
And know people and know how things are, and
How they're
and
run,
yeah, how
right?
they're run. Yeah, exactly. And that's so helpful, right? Like, because I wouldn't know. I'm sure I could try to figure things out to an extent,
Mhm.
right? But having someone who has that experience and understands,
Mhm.
not only does it make it an easier process for them, but it helps people maybe feel more comfortable to approach them,
Mhm.
right?
The
Like,
amount of engagement you receive is actually more, obviously, right?
yeah,
If you have somebody that they can relate to.
Yeah.
exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's really important for us to practice humility in these
Mhm.
situations. Like I
Absolutely.
do not always have to be the man for the job.
Right.
Mhm.
And
No.
I am one of those people that will admit that there is somebody out there who can do the job better than I can. And if we're talking about supporting and serving other people, then let's find that person. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, it's about community engagement is what it comes down to. I mean, we know there are hurting populations all over the place. So if we can be culturally aware and then maybe we have a tool in our tool belt that we can hand off, like you said, to somebody else to say, here, go use this because you have the skills. I may have the tools, but you have the skills to use it to go out and work with individuals and help them see their world in the way that it would be completely foreign to some of us.
Mhm.
I've never lived in an encampment. I've never been homeless. There are a lot of things I haven't had. But all I can say is, to your point, Alex, is that you have. So go do.
Go do.
Go do.
Mhm.
Here, I'll give you whatever resources I have to
Yes.
remove barriers
Yep.
from individuals that are struggling.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing that we have to think about all around recovery. And that is no matter what you look like, where you came from, how you've lived or how you haven't lived, there are barriers that are around all of us all the time.
Right.
And we might look a certain way and think that we have all the privilege in the world. And sometimes there's barriers even there,
Mhm.
you know? So it's so amazing. We're coming up against our next break. So when we come back, I just want to, Aaron, we can just take it away. I want to hear, like, what does the future of Amethyst look like? Where is it going to go?
I love it.
All these dreams. So thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. We'll be back with our gents from Amethyst Recovery Solutions.
This guitar needs 6 strings, 'cause without it there's no song. And this house needs love in it, 'cause without it there's no home. And there's one thing that I've learned.
Welcome back to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. I'm Erin, and across from me is Caddy, and we are joined by 2 gentlemen from Amethyst Recovery Solutions. Thank you for joining us, Derek and Alex. I'll go ahead and let you guys wrap up with Amethyst Solutions, but I just want to remind you that the listeners don't know who Ben Afquack is, and I
They're
think that
about to.
I think that they need to know who the star of the Walk for Recovery really is.
Yeah, we thought
So-
it might be Dino, the Dino Rex. He kind of lost himself. So, but let's have Ben Afquack come to the quacky table.
Yeah, I will say Ben Afquack is not a fan of the big blow up dinosaur.
Oh gosh.
A bit too much.
Yeah. Because I think the dinosaur was there last year
Yes,
too, right?
yes, the dinosaur was. Yeah.
I tried to have them meet last year and made a point to not do the same thing this year.
Luckily, the suit of the dinosaur didn't fit quite well this year, so we didn't have one. So Ben Afquack was going to turn out okay.
Oh,
So where did he come from, and why do you bring him to the Walk for Recovery?
so since we're talking about recovery, I'll go into the real version of the story,
Please.
not the normal one that I give. So when I was still actively using, I was kind of living place to place, didn't really have a place to call home, living in my car sometimes, and I decided it would be a great idea to have a pet duck. And
Why not?
yeah, so I went to a farm store, bought a baby duck. He lived in these random places with me, lived in my car with me sometimes. And I had him for a couple years. And when I went to treatment and I had to find a new home for the duck, as weird as it sounds, it broke my heart. Like
Right.
For sure.
that was my guy,
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, someday when I get things together again, I'm gonna get another duck and I'm gonna do it right this time instead of having to find a new home for him and living in questionable situations and being surrounded by the, things I was doing, right? Like, let's do it right this time. Let's give this duck the coolest little duck life ever.
How thoughtful.
A
yeah.
duck life.
Yeah. So like 5 or 6 years ago, I got a new duck, got him when he was a day old. And part of the doing it right this time and giving him the coolest duck life was bringing him places like anywhere that I would bring a dog, I would
Mhm.
bring a duck. And sometimes even more than that, we'd sneak him into the Mall of America and stuff like that.
Put him in the little cart and then put the cage
Yeah,
over with the cover over.
Yeah,
Okay,
put a
there you
hoodie
go.
over the stroller
Yeah,
and
yeah.
walk right in.
It's my baby.
Yep.
And it is.
And so he kind of accidentally got famous on the internet. And so I don't want to be famous on the internet. I have no use for that. Like, it was kind of just this random thing that happened. And so I was like, well, how can we use this for something that I do care about, which is, recovery and mental health and things like that. So I started using his Instagram page to talk about recovery and give
That's awesome.
resources and things like that. And yeah, like 3 or 4 years ago now, MRC reached out and was like, hey, do you want to bring this recovery duck to the Walk for Recovery? and it just again blew up even more than I thought. And now we've had so many people come into Amethyst like, oh, you guys are the ones with the duck.
We are officially the duck guys.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
Happens
There are
all the
worse
time.
things to be called.
There are.
Right.
Yeah.
There are.
Absolutely.
And like Derek said earlier, we have been called this.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it's so wild the impact that it's had, and people know this duck and he's awesome. He was really grumpy this year at the Walk for Recovery, but other years he's been pretty great. And at other events that we do with him, like it's just so cool. Like if I saw someone walking a duck on a leash, I would want to be able to go meet the duck, and I get to help people do that. Right.
Right.
Like,
So crazy.
yeah, it's really fun.
Well, I mean, what it does is it engages people. I mean, you don't see a duck very
Exactly.
often. I mean, it all comes, I always try to wrap it around to what we're trying to do in the recovery community is engage people, get them interested, see somebody that might look like them or not look like them, but they've got something that you want. We've all heard that from meetings that we've got. I want what you've got. And I mean, if you've got a duck, I mean, what more? You know?
It's refreshing.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
refreshing when
Yeah.
you're walking through the walk for recovery and you have all of these booths and then you hear that quack. You're going to the quack.
You're going to the
Right?
quack.
And
yeah.
I think
Not
more
the crack, but the
than
quack.
the crack. Yes. At one point in time it was the crack.
Yes.
Now it's the quack. Yes. That should be a slogan, by the way. But I think what's cooler than that is because some people are simply just don't want a duck. They don't want a pet duck. But I think it's the idea of how cool that person is in a point of their life where they get to leash up a duck and take them wherever they want.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's a cool symbol.
What I found is really cool too is it immediately lowers like barriers and lets people kind of let their guard down, right? Like it gets all of the awkward small talk, I don't know you, you don't know me, out of the way. They're like, oh my God, you have a duck. Also, I'm struggling. And like it's amazing how quickly people get to kind of the meat of the sandwich, or get to it at all, and maybe they wouldn't have otherwise. It's like it establishes this weird unspoken, like, we're cool kind of connection, and it happens all the time where people are willing to talk to me or talk about things that they wouldn't normally otherwise.
Yeah. Well, it shows the importance of having service animals. And what you said first and foremost, when you had to let the first duck go on to a different duck life, you had to let the duck go because the place where you went, there was no place for the duck or the dog or the cat or the iguana or the snake or whatever your recovery animal would be. And I've always said time and time again, there is a space or place in this world to have animals go when the human has to go and get some better help that it does not allow critters. And that I can see where that could be a problem. But where is the space for the animals that when the person comes out, they get to rebond with, they get to have a new relationship with, just like our family members or our friends or our communities. But it's been one of those things that I've always thought, I'm like, people out there's a business out there. There's an opportunity, recovery animal sanctuary, temporary, something or another, because the animals are important.
Yeah. And it can be a huge barrier to getting help.
Why people don't get help.
Literally don't get help because they don't want to leave their animals behind.
Well, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people where the conversation is about 10 minutes long. 9.5 minutes of it is absolutely amazing. This person is ready to come and receive services and support and be with us on their journey. And the last 30 seconds is asking if we allow service animals or cats or dogs. And then the conversations, they're just unwilling, and it's really sad. It's really sad because if they had a safe place for that animal, they'd bring them to that place and then they come to us.
Because that's their heart. That might be the only companion they've had for a very long time.
Because you know what? We'll probably, in most cases, I think it would be fair. We will mistreat a human, but we won't mistreat an animal.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, whether or not it's their only companion in life, it's probably the one that treats them the best.
Yeah, the safest.
Because they don't talk back.
They don't talk back. They love you
unconditionally. Yeah. And that, and that's, I think that's like a beautiful place where we can wrap up this conversation is that you have developed homes for people so that they can feel safe, have good conversations, be constructive humans, learn how to rehuman sometimes. And then now you've made the next step, which is how do we help the greater community with all of the different things? We got like 1.5 minutes. Fill it up with what it is what's your next thing you're doing for the community, or talk to us.
I mean, I think right now our main focus is providing quality peer recovery support to the general community. Like that is where we are trying to grow. We have some conversations about next steps. But really what we're mainly focused on right now is making sure that everything that we do is quality,
Mhm.
right? Like, because the people that we are servicing are the most important thing of all of this,
Nice.
I can
right?
appreciate that
So
for
we
sure.
we just want to make sure that whatever it is that we're doing, whether we're staying the same or we're expanding, we're doing the best that we can.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had some problems in the industry. And so
Yeah.
I admire your integrity of staying right on where we need to deliver
Yeah,
services.
Yeah.
and that has thrown a little bit of a curveball in the plans we thought we had,
Yep.
right? Like, we had to shift our priority and our focus because there's a lot of really awesome people out there that need some help.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there that
Yeah.
are suffering tremendously right now as a result of what's taken place over the last couple months.
Yep.
Mhm.
So that's why we're here as a recovery community.
Yeah.
100%.
So I just want to say thank you, gentlemen.
Yes.
Amethyst Recovery Solutions is a great organization. Alex and
Derek, thank you so much,
Derek,
both of you.
yeah, both of you.
Thanks for
Join
having
us in
us.
supporting our mission of becoming a monthly donor, annual donor. Visit us at minnesotarecovery.org.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.